Most people see Captain Varick Drummond and see a weapon forged in war. I see the man who knelt in the mud and told me the world would have to cut through him before it touched me. He says it is his duty, nothing more than a soldier's oath to the crown. But when his hand trembles as he pulls mine from my tear-stained face, when his voice breaks on my name in the darkness, I begin to wonder if duty still governs his heart. My name is Princess Elara von Habsburg. Tonight, I tried to run from my own palace. I almost reached the gates before the guards caught me. They dragged me back, gently of course, because one does not manhandle royalty. But the humiliation burns hotter than any rough grip ever could. Now I sit in the Schönbrunn Palace gardens, silk gown ruined with mud, sobbing like a common girl whilst the man sworn to protect me stands 5 paces away, refusing to even look at me. In 1 month, they will marry me to Prince Friedrich of Prussia. I met him once. He looked at me the way men look at horses at auction, examined my teeth, my posture, my bloodline, found me acceptable. The contracts are being drawn. My father, Emperor Franz, has decided, for the good of the empire, for alliances, for trade routes and military pacts. I am a signature on a document, a womb to produce heirs. Nothing more. And Captain Varick Drummond? He is supposed to ensure I make it to that wedding, that I fulfill my duty, that I sacrifice my life on the altar of politics and power. But tonight something shifts. Tonight he turns around, crosses the garden, drops to one knee in the dirt before me, a common soldier kneeling before a princess, and does the one thing that will change everything. He says my name, not Your Highness, not Princess, just Elara. This story is entirely fiction. Any resemblance to persons or places is coincidental. Tell us where you are watching from in the comments below. Subscribe to our channel for more stories like this. We drop powerful historical tales you will not want to miss. Your support helps us bring more compelling stories to life. This channel is built on courage. Subscribe if you believe in courage. Quick question. Would you risk everything for someone else's freedom? 3 days before the emperor's ball, the Habsburg court operates like a machine. Every word is measured. Every gesture carries meaning. Every moment is performance. In Vienna, amongst the highest ranks of European aristocracy, there exists a concept called Hofceremonial, court ceremonial protocol. It is not simply etiquette. It is law, unwritten but absolute. It governs how you walk, how you speak, how you hold your wine glass, even how you breathe in the presence of royalty. One misstep can destroy a reputation. One tear shed in public can become a scandal that topples alliances. Princess Elara has lived her entire life inside this machine. Tonight, she sits at a formal dinner in the Great Hall of Schönbrunn Palace. Chandeliers hang overhead like frozen waterfalls of crystal. The table stretches the length of the room. Polished mahogany that reflects candlelight like dark water. 40 guests, diplomats, nobles, military commanders, all watching. And across from her sits Prince Friedrich Wilhelm von Hohenzollern of Prussia. He is tall, blonde, handsome in the way a marble statue is handsome, cold, perfect, lifeless. His uniform is immaculate. Prussian blue coat with silver buttons, medals arranged in precise rows across his chest. He cuts his meat with surgical precision. He has not smiled once. Your father informs me you speak French, Friedrich says. His German carries the sharp Berlin accent, each consonant like a blade striking stone. Yes, Your Highness, Elara replies. And Italian, some English. Good. Our children will require multilingual instruction. Our children. He speaks of them as though they already exist, as though her body is simply a vessel waiting to be filled with Hohenzollern heirs. The wedding will take place in Berlin, Friedrich continues, not waiting for her response. The ceremony will be conducted in both Catholic and Lutheran traditions to satisfy both courts. You will of course convert. Convert. Elara's voice is carefully neutral. To Lutheranism. It is expected of Prussian royal consorts. He says this as though he is discussing the weather. When someone plans your entire future without asking your opinion, they do not see you as a partner. They see you as property. I was not aware conversion was part of the marriage terms, Elara says quietly. Friedrich finally looks at her. Really looks at her. His pale blue eyes are cold. Your father agreed to all terms. Your personal feelings on the matter are irrelevant. He pauses, then adds, almost as an afterthought. Your bloodline is acceptable. Your education is adequate. You will make a suitable consort. Not, you are beautiful. Not, I look forward to knowing you. Not, I hope we shall be happy together. Your bloodline is acceptable. Elara feels something crack inside her chest. Across the room, standing at attention near the doorway, Captain Varick Drummond watches. His face reveals nothing, but his hand rests on his saber hilt, knuckles white. In 1810 Europe, royal marriages were not about love. They were diplomatic instruments, tools of statecraft. The Congress of Vienna, which would formally convene 5 years later, was built on a foundation of strategic marriages binding former enemies into uneasy alliances. The Habsburgs were masters of this game. Their motto, let others wage war. You, happy Austria, marry. But the cost of this strategy was measured in human lives, in young women shipped across Europe like cargo, in princesses who became mothers before they became adults, in arranged unions where affection, if it came at all, came as a surprise rather than an expectation. Elara knows this history. She is living it. The dinner continues. Course after course. Servants move like ghosts. Conversation flows around her. Politics, military campaigns, trade negotiations. She smiles, nods, plays her role. Inside, she is screaming. When the final course is cleared, Friedrich stands, bows stiffly. I depart for Berlin tomorrow, he announces. I shall return for the wedding. Ensure you are prepared. Then he leaves. No good night. No personal word. Just orders. The moment he exits, Elara's father, Emperor Franz I of Austria, approaches. He is a small man, growing stout in middle age, with thinning hair and tired eyes. He has ruled through revolution, war, and Napoleon's campaigns. He looks exhausted. You did well tonight, he says, pride in his voice. Father, the Prussian alliance is vital, Elara. You understand this, yes? After Napoleon's defeats, we must rebuild European stability. Your marriage secures our northern border. It brings Prussian military support. It ensures peace. And what of my peace? The words slip out before she can stop them. Emperor Franz's expression hardens. Your personal desires are insignificant when measured against the security of millions. You are Habsburg. You are born to duty. I expect you to fulfill it. He kisses her forehead. Then he too leaves. Elara stands alone in the great hall. The servants extinguish candles one by one. Shadows creep across the walls. She feels the weight of the empire pressing down on her shoulders, crushing her. When she finally walks toward her chambers, Varick falls into step 3 paces behind. Silent, watchful. Their eyes meet in the reflection of a gilded mirror as they pass through the corridors. No words, but understanding passes between them like current through water. Past midnight, the palace sleeps. Elara cannot. She slips from her chambers, wrapping a shawl around her shoulders, and makes her way through the silent corridors to the palace library. It is her refuge. Floor-to-ceiling shelves filled with leather-bound volumes. The smell of old paper and beeswax candles. A place where she can breathe. She does not expect to find Varick waiting there. He stands near the window, still in uniform, though his coat is unbuttoned. He does not turn when she enters, but his shoulders tense. You should not be here, Your Highness, he says quietly. Neither should you. I am on duty. Your shift ended 2 hours ago. Silence. Then Varick turns. The candlelight catches the scar that runs from his left temple to his jaw. A souvenir from the Battle of Ospern-Essling, where Austrian forces clashed with Napoleon's Grande Armée. He was 23 then, a lieutenant. He held a bridge alone for 17 minutes whilst his company retreated. 17 minutes that earned him a promotion, a medal, and nightmares that still wake him. I could not sleep, he admits. Nor could I. Elara moves deeper into the library, runs her fingers along the spines of books. Do you know what Friedrich said to me tonight? That my bloodline is acceptable. As though I am a breeding mare being evaluated for purchase. Varick's jaw tightens. And my father, Elara continues, voice breaking, told me my personal desires are insignificant, that I am born to duty, that my feelings do not matter when weighed against the empire. Your feelings matter. 3 words. Simple, direct, but they land like thunder. Elara turns to face him. Do they? Truly? Or is that simply something kind people say to those without choices? Varick crosses the distance between them, stops just close enough that she can see the gray flecks in his eyes. I have been planning something, he says quietly. I should not tell you. It is treason to even think it, but I find I cannot keep silent any longer. Planning what? Your escape. The word hangs in the air. Elara's breath catches. What are you saying? I am saying that a captain of the Imperial Guard knows every patrol route, every shift change, every weak point in the palace defenses. I am saying that a man with my training could get someone out of Vienna undetected. That is madness. Perhaps. You would be executed. Yes. Then why? Because there is always another answer, Elara. He uses her name deliberately. Always. You do not have to marry Friedrich. You do not have to sacrifice yourself on the altar of politics. In the warrior cultures of medieval Germanic tribes, the ancestors of the Austrian military tradition, there existed a sacred bond called Schwertbruder, sword brother. When 2 warriors swore this oath, it transcended rank, class, even blood family. It meant your life before mine, your honor before my safety, your freedom before my comfort. The bond was considered unbreakable, more sacred than marriage, more binding than law. Soldiers who violated this oath were not simply punished. They were erased, their names struck from records, their deeds forgotten, because to betray your sword brother was to betray the very concept of honor itself. Varick has just declared himself Elara's Schwertbruder. Whether he realizes the full weight of that declaration or not. Where would I go? Elara whispers. South, through the Vienna woods to Baden. There is a coaching inn where the proprietor owes me his life from the wars. He will provide horses and provisions without questions. From Baden, we ride to the Swiss cantons. Switzerland. The Confederation maintains strict neutrality. They do not extradite political refugees. The mountain terrain makes pursuit difficult. You would be safe there. During the Napoleonic Wars and the years immediately following, Switzerland became a haven for European aristocrats fleeing political persecution, forced marriages, and court intrigue. The Swiss cantons' policy of armed neutrality, combined with the natural fortress of the Alps, made it nearly impossible for foreign powers to retrieve fugitives. Historical records document dozens of nobility who vanished into Swiss cities and were never recovered. Elara tries to process what Varick is offering. And you? What happens to you? I will be branded a deserter, a traitor. If they catch me, I will hang. Then this is insanity. Probably. I cannot ask you to. You are not asking. Varick's voice is steel. I am offering. There is a difference. Pay attention to this. When someone risks their safety, their reputation, their very life for your autonomy, not to control you, not to possess you, but to give you choice. That is not manipulation. That is sacrifice. Elara feels tears building. When? The Emperor's Ball. 3 nights from now. Security will be concentrated on the festivities. The guards will be focused on the ballroom, the reception halls. No one will notice a princess slipping away during the celebrations. By the time they realize you are missing, we will be halfway to Baden. This is real, Elara breathes. You are serious. Completely. She looks at him. Truly looks at him. At the man who has stood guard outside her chambers for 2 years. Who has never spoken out of turn. Who has remained a silent shadow whilst her life was bartered away piece by piece. Now that shadow has stepped into the light, and it is offering her a door she never knew existed. I need time to think, she says. You have 3 days. But Elara, he pauses. If you choose this, there is no turning back. You will lose everything. Your title, your family, your country. You will be a fugitive. And if I stay, you will lose yourself. The truth of that statement settles between them like frost. Varick steps back, returns to his position of formal attention. Forgive me, Your Highness. I have overstepped. I will understand if you wish to report. Stop. Elara's voice is firm. Do not apologize for offering me freedom. Their eyes meet. Something shifts. The careful distance they have maintained for 2 years. The wall of rank and protocol begins to crack. 3 days, Elara repeats. 3 days. She leaves the library. Behind her, Varick releases a breath he did not know he was holding. 2 days before the ball. Morning light streams through the windows of the palace dressmaker's salon. Elara stands on a raised platform whilst 3 seamstresses circle her like predatory birds, pinning and tucking the white silk gown she will wear to the ball. White, the color of purity, of innocence, of bridal sacrifice. The gown is exquisite. French silk, Italian lace, pearls sewn into the bodice in patterns that catch the light. It costs more than most families earn in a lifetime. Elara feels suffocated by it. Arms up, Your Highness, the head seamstress instructs. Elara obeys. Always obedient, always compliant. The door opens. Her lady-in-waiting, Baroness Therese von Metternich, enters carrying a leather portfolio. The marriage contracts have arrived from Berlin, Therese announces. Your father requests your presence in the stateroom for the reading. Of course he does. Elara is released from the fitting. She changes into a day dress, still silk, still expensive, still a costume, and makes her way through the palace corridors to the stateroom. Inside, she finds her father surrounded by lawyers, diplomats, and clerks. Documents cover the massive oak table. Seals, signatures, the machinery of dynastic politics laid bare. Emperor Franz looks up, smiles. Ah, Elara, come, sit. We are reviewing the final terms. Elara sits. A Prussian diplomat, thin, severe, with spectacles perched on a sharp nose, begins reading aloud. Article 7. Upon marriage, Her Imperial Highness Princess Elara Maria Therese von Habsburg shall assume the title Crown Princess of Prussia. All property, income, and holdings shall transfer to the control of His Royal Highness Prince Friedrich Wilhelm von Hohenzollern. The words wash over her. Property transfer, income control, succession rights, dowry payments. She is discussed as though she is not in the room, as though she is a commodity being exchanged rather than a human being with thoughts, feelings, desires. In 1810, women, even royal women, had almost no legal autonomy. Under most European legal systems, a woman passed from the control of her father to the control of her husband upon marriage. She could not own property in her own name, could not sign contracts, could not make legal decisions without male permission. The marriage contract before Elara is not a partnership agreement. It is a transfer of ownership. Article 12, the diplomat continues, stipulates that a minimum of 3 male heirs must be produced within the first 7 years of marriage to secure succession. Failure to produce heirs shall be grounds for annulment. Red flag. When your worth is measured solely by your reproductive capacity, you are not valued as a person. You are valued as a function. The reading drones on. Elara's mind drifts. She thinks of the library, of Varick's words, of the door he offered her. Elara, her father's voice pulls her back. Yes, the lawyers require your verbal consent to the terms. She looks around the table. 12 men staring at her, waiting. Not one woman, not one person who has asked what she wants. Elara takes a breath. And if I refuse consent? The room goes silent. Emperor Franz's expression darkens. We have discussed this. I am asking again. Your consent is not required by law. You are under paternal authority. However, it would be preferable if you agreed willingly. Preferable for whom? Elara. Her father's voice carries warning now. Do not embarrass me in front of the Prussian delegation. She looks at the contracts, at the lawyers, at her father. Then she smiles, the perfect, practiced smile of a Habsburg princess. Of course, father. Forgive me. I consent to the terms as written. The relief in the room is immediate. The Prussian diplomat nods approvingly. The lawyers shuffle papers. Her father exhales. They do not see the lie. They do not see the decision crystallizing behind her eyes. That afternoon, Elara returns to her chambers, dismisses her servants, locks the door. She crosses to her writing desk and removes a leather-bound journal, her diary since childhood, pages filled with hopes, fears, dreams. The private thoughts of a girl who believed, once, that she might have some control over her own destiny. She carries the journal to the fireplace, kneels, and feeds it to the flames. Page by page, her past burns. The girl who wrote those words is dying. Someone new must take her place. That evening, as twilight settles over Vienna, Elara walks in the palace gardens. The same gardens where 3 nights ago she collapsed in tears. She is not crying now. Varick appears from the shadows, silent as always. Your Highness, Captain. They maintain the formality, the distance. Anyone watching would see nothing unusual. Simply a guard accompanying a princess on an evening stroll. But when they reach the fountain at the garden's center, hidden from palace windows by hedgerows, Elara stops, turns, looks directly at him. The ball, she says quietly. When do we leave? Varick's breath catches. You are certain? I am terrified, but I am more terrified of the life I will live if I stay. For the first time since she has known him, Captain Varick Drummond smiles. It transforms his face. Midnight, he says. When the dancing is at its height, I will meet you at the servants' entrance near the kitchens. Bring nothing that will weigh you down. No jewelry, no personal items, only what you can carry. And after, if we succeed, we disappear. New names, new lives. The world will believe Princess Elara von Habsburg vanished. Let them believe it. She nods. Then, breaking every rule of protocol, every law of Hofceremonial, she reaches out and places her hand over his. Thank you, she whispers, for seeing me when everyone else only saw the crown. Varick turns his hand beneath hers, clasps her fingers. I have always seen you, Elara. From the very first day I was assigned to your detail. I have always seen you. They stand there as darkness falls. 2 people on the edge of a precipice. Tomorrow, the Emperor's ball. Tomorrow, freedom or death. Tomorrow, everything changes. The night arrives like a storm. The Hofburg Palace blazes with light. Every window glows. Every chandelier burns. From the streets of Vienna, the palace looks like a fallen star. Brilliant, beautiful, untouchable. Inside, the ballroom is a spectacle of empire. 3 massive chandeliers hang from the vaulted ceiling, each holding 200 candles. The flames reflect off mirrors lining the walls, multiplying the light until the room seems to exist in its own golden universe. The floor is polished marble, black and white squares arranged in patterns that make dancers appear to float. An orchestra occupies the far gallery, violins and cellos tuned to perfection. 600 guests, diplomats from every European power, military commanders in dress uniforms heavy with medals, nobles wearing family jewels collected over centuries, ladies in gowns that cost more than carriages. The combined wealth in this room could fund a small war. It has in fact funded several. Princess Elara von Habsburg stands at the top of the grand staircase. She wears white silk that flows like water. The bodice is encrusted with seed pearls arranged in the Habsburg double-headed eagle. Her dark hair is piled high, woven with diamond pins that catch candlelight and scatter it like stars. Around her throat, a collar of emeralds. A wedding gift from the Prussian court, arrived yesterday with a note from Friedrich, to adorn what is now mine. She touched the emeralds once, then never again. Now they sit cold against her skin. A collar indeed. The master of ceremonies strikes his staff against the marble floor 3 times. Her Imperial Highness, Princess Elara Maria Therese von Habsburg. The room falls silent. 600 pairs of eyes turn upward. Elara descends the staircase. Each step is measured. Perfect. The result of years of training in how to move, how to breathe, how to exist as a living symbol rather than a person. At the bottom, her father waits. Emperor Franz offers his arm. She takes it. "You are radiant tonight," he murmurs as they process toward the center of the ballroom. The Prussian ambassador is very pleased. Of course he is. He has secured a valuable asset. The orchestra begins. A waltz. The formal opening dance belongs to the emperor and his daughter. Tradition dictates it. They sweep across the floor. Elara has danced this waltz 1,000 times. Her body knows the steps without thought. Left, right, turn. Left, right, turn. Smile. Nod to the watching crowd. Embody grace. Inside, her heart pounds like a war drum. Because across the ballroom, standing at rigid attention near the main doors, Captain Varick Drummond watches. He wears his full dress uniform. Dark blue coat with gold epaulettes denoting his rank. White gloves. Saber at his hip, polished until it mirrors the candlelight. Every button gleams. Every crease is knife-sharp. He looks like what he is, a soldier prepared for battle. Their eyes meet for half a second. He gives the smallest nod. The signal. It begins now. The waltz ends. Polite applause. Emperor Franz releases his daughter and is immediately drawn into conversation with the French ambassador. Elara is passed to her next partner, a Hungarian count whose name she forgets the moment he speaks it. Another dance. Another partner. The evening becomes a blur of faces, conversations, gloved hands guiding her across marble floors. Everyone wants a moment with the princess. Everyone wants to be seen dancing with Habsburg royalty before she becomes Prussian property. Through it all, Varick remains at his post, watching, waiting. At 11:30, the Prussian delegation arrives. They enter with military precision. 6 officers in Prussian blue. And at their center, Prince Friedrich Wilhelm von Hohenzollern. He has not changed since the dinner 3 nights ago. Still cold. Still perfect. Still looking at Elara as though appraising livestock. Friedrich crosses the ballroom. The crowd parts for him. He stops before Elara and executes a precise bow. "Princess, you look acceptable. Not beautiful. Not lovely. Acceptable." He extends his hand. "I believe this dance belongs to me. It is not a request." Elara places her hand in his. His grip is firm, controlling. They move into the waltz position. His hand at her waist feels like iron. The orchestra begins, something German, martial in rhythm. "I trust the contracts have been finalized," Friedrich says as they turn. "Yes, Your Highness." "Good. The wedding will proceed as scheduled. I have allocated 3 days for the ceremony and celebrations. Then we depart for Berlin. I dislike prolonged absences from court. 3 days. Her entire life restructured in 3 days. You will find Prussian court more disciplined than the Austrian," Friedrich continues. His tone suggests this is a virtue. "We do not tolerate emotional excess. Duty before sentiment. Order before chaos. You will adapt. Or else." He does not say it. He does not need to. Elara looks past his shoulder, searching the crowd. Finds Varick. He has moved position, closer to the servants' corridor. "Ready." "You seem distracted," Friedrich observes. "Merely overwhelmed by the occasion, Your Highness. See that you focus." A Prussian princess does not allow her attention to wander. The music swells. They turn through the final measures. When the waltz ends, Friedrich releases her with the same mechanical precision he applies to everything. "I shall see you at the wedding," he says. Then he returns to his delegation without another word. Elara stands alone in the middle of the ballroom. Around her, the celebration continues. Laughter, music, the clink of champagne glasses. The Habsburg Empire at its finest, celebrating another successful transaction. She looks toward the grand clock mounted above the orchestra gallery. 11:45. 15 minutes. Her hands tremble. She clasps them together to hide it. A servant approaches with a silver tray bearing crystal flutes of champagne. Elara takes one, not to drink, but to have something to hold. Something to occupy her shaking fingers. She drifts toward the edge of the ballroom, moving casually, as though simply seeking a moment of air. Several guests attempt to engage her in conversation. She smiles, murmurs polite responses, keeps moving. Closer to the servants' corridor. Closer to Varick. Closer to the edge of everything she has ever known. At 11:55, she catches his eye one final time. He turns, disappears through a doorway hidden behind a tapestry. Elara counts to 30. Her heart hammers so hard she fears people nearby can hear it. Then she sets down her champagne glass, gathers her silk skirts, and follows. The corridor beyond is dim, lit only by a few wall sconces. The sounds of the ballroom fade behind her, music and laughter becoming distant, dreamlike. Varick waits in the shadows. He has removed his dress coat, wears now a simple dark wool jacket, civilian clothes. In his hands, a bundle. "Quickly," he whispers. "Change here." He turns his back. Elara's fingers fumble with the pearl buttons of her gown. There are dozens. It takes precious seconds to free herself from the silk prison. The gown falls to the floor in a white pool. She stands in her undergarments, chemise, petticoat, corset. Varick hands her the bundle without turning. Inside, a simple cotton dress. Brown, plain, the kind a merchant's daughter might wear. Sturdy shoes, a hooded cloak. She dresses quickly. Her fingers know these fastenings, buttons, laces, ties. Working clothes rather than costume. When she finishes, she touches Varick's shoulder. He turns, takes in her transformation, nods approval. "The jewelry," he says quietly. Elara reaches for her throat. The emerald collar. Friedrich's collar. She unhooks it. The diamonds in her hair. She pulls them free. Her rings. Everything. She places them atop the discarded white gown. Symbols of Princess Elara von Habsburg, abandoned in a darkened corridor. "Ready?" Varick asks. She takes a breath. "Ready." They move through the servants' passages like ghosts. Varick knows every turn, every staircase, every door. They pass kitchen staff preparing the midnight supper. Roasted pheasants, glazed fruits, towers of pastries. The servants are too busy to notice two more bodies moving through the controlled chaos. Down a narrow staircase. Through a laundry room where linens hang like pale flags. Out through a side door that opens onto the palace kitchen gardens. Cold night air hits Elara's face. Freedom tastes like winter. They cross the gardens quickly, staying in shadows cast by hedgerows. Ahead, the outer wall rises. 12 feet of stone and imperial authority. But Varick leads her to a section where ivy has grown thick over decades. Natural ladder. "Can you climb?" he whispers. "Watch me." Elara grabs the ivy, pulls herself up. The rough stone scrapes her palms. Her practical shoes find purchase in gaps between stones. She climbs. At the top, she pauses, looks back at the palace. Lit windows, music drifting faintly on the wind. Her entire life contained within those walls. She turns away, drops down the far side. Varick follows. They land in the Vienna woods, the vast forest that surrounds the palace grounds. Ancient oaks, dense underbrush, darkness. Behind them, the palace continues its celebration. No one has noticed the missing princess yet. They have perhaps an hour before her absence is discovered. Maybe two if luck holds. Varick takes her hand. They run. The forest swallows them. Moonlight filters through bare branches, casting shadows that shift and deceive. Every sound is amplified. Their breathing, footfalls on frozen ground, the distant call of night birds. Elara's lungs burn. She has never run like this. Never pushed her body beyond the controlled movements of dance, the measured walks through palace corridors. This is different. This is survival. Varick sets a brutal pace. He knows these woods from military training exercises conducted here years ago. Knows which paths lead to roads, which circle back, which dead end in ravines. They run for what feels like hours, but is perhaps only 30 minutes. Finally, Varick signals a stop. They collapse in a small clearing, gasping. Elara's hair has come loose from its pins. Mud stains her cloak. Her hands are scratched from branches. She has never been more disheveled. She has never felt more alive. We are clear of the immediate patrols, Varick says between breaths. But they will come, soon as your absence is discovered. How long do we have? Not long enough. We rest here 10 minutes. Then we push on to Baden. Elara nods, leans back against an oak trunk, closes her eyes. In the silence, reality settles over her like cold water. She has done it, left everything. Family, title, country, the girl she was raised to be. Varick, she says quietly, what you are doing, what you have given up. He turns to look at her. In the moonlight, the scar on his face looks deeper. I have given up a uniform and a rank, he says. You have given up an empire. I gave up a cage. And what will you do now, when we reach Switzerland? When you are simply Elara, not Princess Elara? Who will you be? The question hangs in the cold air. Elara realizes she does not know the answer. She has spent 22 years being what others demanded. Obedient daughter, dutiful princess, political asset. She has never been allowed to discover who she might be if given the choice. I do not know, she admits. But I would rather spend my life discovering that answer than spend it as Friedrich's acceptable consort. Varick's expression softens. Then we will discover it together. A sound in the distance. Both freeze. Voices. Faint but growing closer. Men calling to each other through the trees. The search has begun. Move, Varick hisses. They rise and plunge deeper into the forest. Behind them, the voices grow louder. Torchlight flickers through distant trees. The Imperial Guard is hunting them now. Varick leads her through sections of forest so thick the moonlight barely penetrates. Brambles tear at their clothes. Low branches strike like whips. Once, Elara stumbles over a hidden root, goes down hard. Varick hauls her up without stopping. Keep going. Do not stop. Her lungs scream. Her legs shake. But she keeps moving. Because stopping means capture. Capture means return. Return means Friedrich and Berlin, and the slow death of everything she might have been. So she runs. They emerge finally onto a narrow road. Packed dirt, rutted from wagon wheels. A signpost barely visible in darkness. Baden, 8 kilometers. 8 kilometers. Roughly 5 miles. They have been running for over an hour. The palace is far behind now. But so is safety. Varick scans the road in both directions. Stay in the trees. Parallel to the road, but not on it. Harder to spot. They move alongside the road, using the forest as cover. The going is slower here, but safer. As they walk, the adrenaline begins to fade. Exhaustion creeps in. Tell me about Baden, Elara says, partly to distract herself from her burning muscles. This innkeeper who owes you a debt. Varick is silent for a moment. Then, his name is Johann Kessler. During the French campaigns, his village was caught between Austrian and French forces. Napoleon's soldiers were burning farms, conscripting men. Johann tried to protect his family. A French officer took offense. Was going to execute him as an example. What did you do? Stopped it. Cost me a month's pay in bribes, and nearly got me court-martialed for interfering with Allied discipline. But Johann lived. His family lived. Varick glances at her. He told me if I ever needed anything, I had only to ask. And you never asked. Until now. Until now. History is full of these small rebellions. Soldiers who defied orders to protect civilians. Officers who spent personal fortunes to save strangers. The official records rarely capture these moments. They document battles and treaties, strategies and defeats. But the human stories slip through. They survive in family letters, in oral traditions, in the quiet gratitude of people who remember when someone risked everything for nothing in return. They walk in silence for another hour. The road curves through farmland now, the forest thinning. Ahead, lights appear. The town of Baden, thermal spa resort favored by Viennese aristocracy, seeking the healing waters. Tonight, it is a refuge for fugitives. They skirt the main streets, approaching from the rear. Varick leads her to a small coaching inn set back from the town square. 2 stories, timber frame, thatched roof. A painted sign swings in the wind. The Black Eagle. Varick approaches the door. Knocks 3 times, pauses, knocks twice more. A code. The door opens. A man appears, broad-shouldered, graying beard, a pronounced limp. Johann Kessler. His eyes widen when he sees Varick. Captain Drummond. I did not expect. His gaze shifts to Elara. Takes in her muddy cloak, her disheveled appearance. Understanding dawns. Inside. Quickly. They slip through the door. Johann bolts it behind them. The interior is simple but clean. A common room with a fireplace. Rough tables. The smell of bread and beer. You are running from something, Johann says. Statement, not question. Yes. Imperial business? The most imperial. Johann studies Elara more carefully. Recognition flickers across his face. He has seen her portrait, perhaps, or glimpsed her during state processions through Vienna. He says nothing about it. You need horses, he says instead. Supplies. A head start. Yes. I can pay. Johann raises a hand. You paid years ago. I told you, anything. I meant it. He moves to a cabinet, pulls out a map, spreads it on a table. Switzerland is your best chance. The border crossing at Feldkirch is usually lightly patrolled. If you ride hard, you can reach it by tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, Elara breathes. So close. So impossibly close. Johann traces the route with a thick finger. Follow the main road south to Graz, then west toward the mountains. Avoid towns where possible. The moment Vienna realizes you are missing, they will send riders to every coaching station, every border post. They already know, Varick says quietly. We have been running for hours. By now the palace is in chaos. Johann nods grimly. Then you have less time than I thought. Wait here. He disappears through a back door. Returns minutes later with saddlebags packed with provisions, bread, cheese, dried meat, water flasks. 2 heavy traveling cloaks. And something else. A pistol. He hands it to Varick. Just in case. Varick checks the weapon. Loaded. Primed. He tucks it into his belt. The horses are in the stable, Johann says. 2 of my best. Fast. Sturdy. They will carry you to Switzerland if you do not push them to death. Elara grasps the older man's hand. Thank you. We are in your debt. Johann's expression is kind. No, my lady. The debt is paid. Go. Live. Be free. That is thanks enough. They gather their supplies. Johann leads them to the stable behind the inn. 2 horses wait, already saddled. A bay gelding and a gray mare, both strong-boned and alert. Varick helps Elara mount. She has ridden since childhood, but never like this. Never for survival. Johann opens the stable door. Point south. God go with you both. They ride into the darkness. Behind them, in Vienna, the emperor's ball has dissolved into pandemonium. The princess is missing. The captain of her guard has vanished. Soldiers flood through the palace, searching every room, every corridor. Emperor Franz stands in his daughter's empty chambers, staring at the abandoned white gown, the emerald collar, the scattered diamonds. He picks up a single pearl button from the floor and understands. She is not coming back. Dawn breaks over the Austrian countryside. Elara and Varick have been riding for 7 hours. They push the horses hard through the night, stopping only twice to rest the animals and check the road behind for pursuit. So far, nothing. But that will not last. The landscape changes as they move south and west. Flat farmland gives way to rolling hills. The hills steepen into foothills. And beyond, rising like a wall between earth and sky, the Alps. Elara has seen the mountains from a distance all her life. From palace windows, they appeared beautiful, majestic, romantic even. Up close, they are terrifying, massive beyond comprehension, ancient, indifferent to human struggles. They are also salvation. Somewhere beyond those peaks lies Switzerland, lies freedom. They stop at midday to rest the horses and eat. A small stream provides water. They sit on cold rocks, chewing bread and cheese, too exhausted for conversation. Finally, Elara speaks. How far? Another day's ride to the border. Maybe less if we are lucky. And if we are not lucky, Varick meets her eyes. Then we fight. The pistol rests within easy reach. Neither speaks of what fighting would mean. That the Imperial Guard does not take deserters alive. That fleeing with a member of the royal family is treason punishable by execution. Elara looks down at her hands. They are blistered from the rains, scratched from branches, stained with mud. 2 days ago, these hands wore diamond rings and had never touched anything rougher than silk. I have been thinking, she says quietly, about what you asked in the forest. Who I will be now. Varick waits. I do not know yet, but I know who I will not be. I will not be someone whose value is measured by bloodline. I will not be acceptable. I will not be a signature on a contract. She looks up. I will be a person who chose. Even if the choice costs everything. Even if I spend the rest of my life running. At least it will be my life. Something shifts in Varick's expression. Pride, perhaps. Or recognition. You were always a person who chose, he says. You simply had no choices available. Until now. They ride on. The road climbs into the mountains. The temperature drops. Snow appears on the ground, first in patches, then covering everything. The horses labor upward, breath steaming in the thin air. By late afternoon, they reach a high pass. Below them, valleys stretch into distance. And they're barely visible through mountain haze, a cluster of buildings. Feldkirch, Austrian border town. Beyond it, Switzerland. Elara's heart lifts. Then Varick stiffens. Behind us. She turns. Far below, on the winding road they just climbed, movement. Riders. At least a dozen. Moving fast. The Imperial Guard. They have been found. Varick curses under his breath. They are pushing their horses too hard. They will reach us before we can cross the border. Then what do? He scans the terrain. The road ahead is exposed, open ground with no cover. Anyone crossing the border will be visible for miles. But to the west, a narrow trail branches off the main road. Barely more than a goat path, climbing higher into the peaks. There, Varick says. If we can reach that trail, the terrain will slow them down. Buy us time. Time for what? To reach the Swiss side through the mountains instead of the road. Elara looks at the trail. It disappears into snow-covered rocks and treacherous slopes. That will kill us. Maybe. But staying here definitely will. It is not really a choice. They urge their exhausted horses onto the narrow trail. The path climbs steeply. Loose rocks slide beneath hooves. Once the gray mare stumbles, nearly goes down. Elara hauls on the reins, keeps the animal upright through sheer will. Behind them, shouts. The Imperial Guard has spotted them. Varick draws the pistol. Keep going. Do not stop. The trail narrows further. They are forced to dismount and lead the horses. The altitude makes breathing difficult. Snow deepens. Elara's feet go numb in her inadequate shoes. The pursuit is closing. They reach a section where the trail skirts a cliff edge. To the left, a sheer drop of hundreds of feet. To the right, vertical rock face. Ahead, the path continues around a blind corner. Varick stops. Hands Elara the reins to both horses. What are you doing? She demands. Giving you a chance. He checks the pistol. Take the horses. Go around that corner. Keep moving. Do not look back. No, absolutely not. I am not leaving you. Elara. No. Her voice cracks. You knelt in the mud and told me I was not trapped. You gave up everything so I could choose my own life. You do not get to sacrifice yourself now. We go together or not at all. Varick stares at her. For a moment, The soldier's mask drops completely. She sees the man beneath, scared, exhausted, but determined. "Together then," he says quietly. He takes one horse. She takes the other. They move around the corner. The trail opens into a small plateau. And beyond it, perhaps 200 yards distant, a wooden marker driven into the ground. The border. Swiss territory. So close. Behind them, voices echo off rock walls. The guard is perhaps 5 minutes away. Elara and Varick break into a run. The horses, sensing urgency, find reserves of strength. They pound across frozen ground. 100 yards. 50. 20. The first Imperial Guard soldiers round the corner behind them. Shouts. Orders to halt. 10 yards. A musket shot cracks. The ball strikes stone near Varick's feet, ricochets away. 5 yards. They cross the border marker. Swiss soil. Elara stumbles. Falls to her knees. Gasps for air. Varick turns, pistol raised, facing the Austrian soldiers who have stopped at the border. The sergeant leading the guard, a weathered veteran with gray in his beard, stands at the marker. Does not cross. Cannot cross. Swiss neutrality is absolute. To violate it would risk international incident. He stares at Varick across the invisible line. "Captain Drummond," the sergeant says, "you are a deserter and a traitor. Return the princess and face military justice." There is still honor in that choice. Varick does not lower the pistol. "I made my choice, Sergeant. Honor is not found in obeying unjust orders. It is found in protecting those who cannot protect themselves." The sergeant's gaze shifts to Elara, kneeling in the snow. "Your Highness," he calls, "your father awaits your return. All will be forgiven. You need only come home." Elara rises slowly, approaches the border, stops just beyond the marker, facing the sergeant across 2 feet of ground that might as well be an ocean. "Tell my father," she says clearly, "that home is not a place. It is a choice, and I choose freedom." The sergeant's expression hardens. "You choose disgrace, scandal, a life of exile. Better exile with dignity than a throne without choice." For a long moment, they stand there. Austrian soldiers on one side, fugitives on the other. Then the sergeant steps back. "We will camp here. Orders are to ensure you do not return. You are no longer Austria's concern." His voice carries an edge of something. Not quite respect, not quite pity. "May God have mercy on you both." The soldiers withdraw. Make camp just inside Austrian territory. Varick finally lowers the pistol, releases a shaking breath. Elara turns to look at the landscape before them. Mountains, valleys, the unknown. "What happens now?" she whispers. Varick moves to stand beside her. "Now we live. We find a town. Work. Build something new. Will it be enough? After everything we left behind?" He considers the question seriously. "I do not know, but I know this. Sacrifice is not the act of giving something up. It is the act of choosing what matters most. You could have chosen safety, comfort, the throne and all its privileges. Instead, you chose yourself. Understanding settles over Elara like dawn light. This is the truth beneath the story, the lesson that matters. Sacrifice is not suffering. It is not enduring abuse for duty's sake. It is not accepting less than you deserve because others demand it. Real sacrifice is recognizing that some things, freedom, dignity, choice, matter more than security or approval. It is the willingness to lose everything except yourself. Throughout history, people have confused sacrifice with submission. They have praised women who endured terrible marriages for propriety's sake, honored soldiers who followed immoral orders without question, celebrated those who destroyed themselves to uphold systems that deserved to fall. But that is not sacrifice. That is surrender. True sacrifice looks like Captain Varick Drummond kneeling in the mud and offering a door. It looks like Princess Elara von Habsburg walking through that door, knowing she will lose her name, her family, her empire. It looks like choosing who you are over what you are supposed to be. Varick had sworn an oath to the crown. But when that oath conflicted with protecting an actual human being from a dehumanizing system, He chose the person over the institution. That cost him everything he had built: rank, respect, future. He paid it willingly. Because some people matter more than duty. Some freedoms matter more than honor. Elara turns to face him fully. You cannot protect me forever. No, he agrees. But I can stand beside you while you learn to protect yourself. Until you no longer need anyone's protection. Until you are simply free. She reaches for his hand. Takes it. Two people who crossed an invisible line and left their old selves behind. The Swiss mountains rise around them. Cold, vast, indifferent. But also sheltering. A fortress built by geology rather than politics. They gather the horses. Turn south. Begin walking toward the distant town of St. Gallen, where perhaps they will find work, shelter, anonymity. Behind them, the Austrian guard maintains their watch. They will report that Princess Elara von Habsburg vanished into Switzerland. That Captain Varick Drummond died a traitor. Official records will confirm this. History books will note a minor scandal. A Habsburg princess who fled an arranged marriage. A curious footnote in the vast chronicle of empire. But those records miss the point entirely. Because the real story is not about what was lost. It is about what was chosen. Elara chose autonomy over acceptance. Uncertainty over suffocation. A hard life of freedom over a comfortable life of servitude. Varick chose conscience over career. A person over protocol. Love, though neither has spoken that word yet, over loyalty to abstract power. Together, they chose sacrifice. Real sacrifice. The kind that costs everything but saves what matters most. As they walk into the mountains, Elara removes the final traces of her old life. A small locket hidden beneath her dress. The last piece of Habsburg jewelry she carried. She opens it. Inside, a miniature portrait of her mother, dead these 10 years. She studies the painted face. Wonders if her mother, married at 16 to a man 40 years her senior, ever dreamed of running, ever imagined a different life. Decides that perhaps this escape is for both of them. She places the locket on a rock at the border. A marker, a memorial, then turns and walks away without looking back. Because that is what freedom requires. Not a single grand gesture. Not a dramatic moment of rebellion. But the daily choice to keep walking. To keep building. To keep choosing yourself even when the world insists you belong to someone else. The mountains swallow them. In Vienna, Emperor Franz receives the report. Reads it once. Places it in a drawer. He does not send more soldiers. Does not demand extradition. Does not publicly acknowledge the loss. Officially, Princess Elara von Habsburg is visiting relatives in Hungary. The wedding is postponed indefinitely due to diplomatic complications. Unofficially, she is dead to the empire. But in a small Swiss town, in a modest room above a baker's shop, a woman named Elara Muller begins learning what it means to live a life of her own choosing. It is harder than she imagined, and more beautiful. She works. She struggles. She makes mistakes. She is, for the first time in her life, completely herself. And beside her, a former soldier named Varick learns that honor is not found in following orders. It is found in knowing when to disobey them. Together, they discover that sacrifice is not about what you lose. It is about what you refuse to give away. Your dignity, your choice, yourself. Those things are worth any cost. That is the soldier's soft spot. That is how you save a fallen princess. Not by keeping her safe within the cage, but by handing her the key and walking through the door beside her. Into the unknown. Into freedom. Into a life that belongs to no one but themselves. This story honors the countless women throughout history who were treated as political tools rather than people. In 1810, royal marriages were business contracts. The Habsburg Empire alone arranged over 650 dynastic marriages between 1477 and 1780. Princess Maria Leopoldina of Austria was forced to marry Dom Pedro of Brazil in 1817 despite her protests. She died at 29, broken by an abusive marriage she never wanted. Real sacrifice means choosing your humanity over others' expectations, even when it costs everything.